Nearby, the casino at the Showboat. 51 weeks out of the year, but this week, bowling is king. And it's been that way for 29 years with the Professional Bowlers Association. And for us at ABC, 27 consecutive years. And we always have thrilling final bowling games. It'll be no different today because from a field of 312, 5 have emerged. And among the 5, there are a total of 45 professional titles. One in the field of 312 is my colleague. He did well this week because he doesn't bowl that often. That's why he knows all about the championship pair. And, of course, I'm speaking of Nelson Burton Jr., who finished 24th. But in our book, he's #1. Bo?
Thank you, Chris. This is a very tough field, as you say. And there's a little bit something different here at the Showboat. It's the lane construction. A normal bowling lane is nailed tongue and groove from the foul line all the way down to the pin area. These particular championship lanes are not made that way. They're put together in a factory. They're actually fused together and sealed. There's no cracks or anything to really mess up the roll of the ball. It rolls very smooth on this championship pair. Now, the pros have bowled here many years, as Chris said, and they know 59 and 60 at the Showboat. They know that 59 hooks a little bit more than 60. They know they can always hit 59. The key is this board right here, lane 60. When a player throws the ball wide and hits out in this red or harder board, it's because of its red, it's a harder type grain, and the ball will slide past this board, slide past the head pin, and often leave a very tough spare or a split. Many times we've seen this be the difference in the match. Now, Chris, they're ready to go. 33,000 at stake. Time for action.
All right, and 2 tall, lanky Californians go head-to-head. The winner advances toward the $33,000 first prize. The loser, well, he just goes home with a pretty good check of $6,000. So here now is a non-winner, Gip Lentine, 36 years old, from Rowland Heights, California. That's an area between Whittier and Pomona, for those of you that know the California area. Gip, a former surfer. He's had in and out career, and he is on the left lane of the championship pair. First shot. Beautifully done. And Bo, he mentioned to us earlier, his biggest problem would be the shakes, the nerves that would set in because he's still looking for that first title.
Well, Gip Lentine never has won a game in a championship round. He was, as you said, Chris, a former touring player. A little bit nervous coming in the championship round. He'll settle down in a few frames, but he's going against a player that's become very dominant in the Professional Bowlers Tour. We saw him in last week's championship round, Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
Right lane. And we'll get to see how he does with splits. Looking at the 4, 6, 7 on the right lane. Quite a few splits this week, Bo.
You're right, Chris. As you see, the profile of Walter Ray Williams Jr. sliding up the foul line, arm length shoulder swing, just going for the 4-7.
So for a 5-time champion, Walter Ray Williams, a dominant force on the tour for the last few years. It's an open frame, 9 through the first. So he moves over to the left side now to try his skill on that lane. All right, has that one figured out. Walter Ray Williams against Gip Lentine. Gip led the 3rd and 4th rounds of this grueling championship.
Gip Lentine tried to tour, Chris, gave up after some success, moved up to Big Bear Lake just outside of Los Angeles, and for 2 years has worked on his game up there. He feels he's ready to come back on the tour part-time, but he'll never go full-time, he said.
Started at age 12 here in California, part of the Youth Bowling Association, which has done a great job for young professionals.
Watch Gip Lentine, 5-step delivery, very strong upper body on this man, wrist cupped, good slide. Look at that high extended follow through, perfect form and a perfect strike in the second frame as he has an early 21-pin lead.
He's a 6-footer, weighs 170 pounds, very good athlete. High hit, leaving the 6-10 for Lentine.
Gip once again goes high on the left-hand lane. In the first frame, he crossed over and got a lucky strike. Here he makes a little bit of adjustment, not quite enough, The ball snaps very sharply in the last 10 feet, leaves the 6-10 spare. Gipp will attack that across lane from the left side of the approach and try to slide the ball into the 6-10 area. And he has had a little bit of trouble with spares this week, and I think it's because he just doesn't bowl full time.
All right. So he has 2 strikes and a spare, Lentine, whereas Walter Ray Williams, bowler of the year in 1986, opened in the first, strike in the second, now shooting in the 3rd frame of our first game. The winner of this match will meet Amleto Monacelli, exciting player from Venezuela, then Mark Williams, and then the great Mark Roth. Double. Okay.
Well, since I'm out here bowling for a living, I do it week after week. I don't feel as much pressure because I'm kind of used to it. When I first came on the tour, it bothered me a little bit. And now I play horseshoes at tournaments. I get a little bit choked up sometimes because I don't play them as often as I used to. And the pressure affects me a little bit more in horseshoes.
So 3 in a row, and of course, the answer was to the question, the difference in the pressure between horseshoes and bowling. We'll be back. It's an all-California first game. 36-year-old Gipp Lentine, who was leading, now trailing by 1 pin with a spare up, shooting in the 4th frame, going against Walter Ray Williams, who tripled. All right, a beautiful strike. We had a chance to ask him about his bowling shoes prior to the competition.
Well, in 1985, I had arthroscopic knee surgery, and after the surgery, returning to bowling, my legs would get very sore. I figured it was from the rubber on the urethane approaches, and sticking was causing my leg to swell and ache, so I tried putting leather on my left heel, and it's alleviated the problem. Sometimes I slide too much, but it's allowed me to continue bowling.
Okay, with a strike up now in the 5th frame, left lane. Sliding by, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 10.
All right, Chris, he's left a washout right there, and what he has to do is get the ball over on the left-hand side of the pins and take this head pin and knock it over into the 10-pin area. As you see the ball slide by, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 10. Gipp Lentine needs to convert this to trail by just 1 pin.
So now in the 5th, it's an open frame for Gipp Lentine, 94 through 5. Williams leading by 15, can increase it to 25. 3 in a row, 5th frame.
Walter Ray leads by 15. His experience is showing here. We talked about that difficult area on this right-hand lane, which is the difference in many matches. Walter has moved to an inside line on this lane, down the middle of the lane to try to avoid that spot, but not to be on that shot.
So now Walter will try his chances with the 1, 2, 10.
Walter Ray, once he slides by and he cuts out all these pins here, he needs to take the head pin and drive it over into the 10 pin to convert the spare.
Looked like a conversion, but another open frame coming in the 5th for Walter Ray Williams. And the match is all even. Boy, what a swing. If you could have come up with a strike, it'd have been a 25-pin lead. Now the match is even.
One of the drawbacks of plastic pins, when you hit them with the bowling ball, they go a little bit higher than the old wood pins of the 1940s, 50s, and the early 60s, and that's cost Walter Ray that spare. The match is even, 6th frame.
Broke up the split, leaving the 4, 7 on the left lane.
Walter Ray Williams Jr. is trying to play in the track area. That's between the 2nd and 3rd arrows. You see that ball roll right through there that time and almost leaves the 4, 7, 10 split. I believe that Walter cannot shoot big games there, but he just has to stay close in the match.
Turn in the 6th for Walter Ray Williams. His dad and his brother are here watching him live as our telecast is coming to you from the Showboat lanes of the hotel and casino here a ways from the Strip and a ways from downtown Las Vegas itself. It's nestled beautifully out here, and the low-key folks come here and have a good time.
Lentine, 6-frame match is all even. Time to start turning it on. First time has happened, Chris.
Yes. Here's the first breakdown, 33 to the winner, and what a difference. Second at 17, third 9, fourth 7. Loser of the game you're watching will get 6,000. Incidentally, the men up next, Amleto, Monacelli, and Mark Williams, are warming up to the right. That's the pinfall that you hear from time to time.
The 2A10, best Lentine can do is just throw the ball real hard and hope to bounce one of the pins out of the pit area. Ooh.
Well, tough break. The third or the second open frame for Lentine.
See the sharp break of Gipp's ball in the last 10 feet of the lane. Takes out the 2-pin, leaving the 8 and 10 pins. He now trails by 12 pins, 7th frame. Historically, we've always had close matches on this championship here, and it looks like today will be no different. Gipp swinging that ball like that just to loosen his arm up. That's a real good idea if you feel like you're squeezing the ball too much. Loosen it up. Swing it before you let it go.
All but the 10-pin on the left lane. If you just joined us, this is our first match. Lentine off to an early lead, then lost it by a pin, all even, and now trails by 12.
Chris, the 10-pin was apparently standing, then a pin came across and seemed to knock it over, but the machine came down and assisted the 10-pin to be knocked over, so it must be replaced. You cannot have the machinery, as you see this, the machinery assist in the pinfall. Here the ball comes in, you'll see the 10-pin remaining. Now it looks like it's going to fall over. The machine comes down and touches it, knocks it over. That's not the way to do it.
Good, a nice cross-lane shot. Looked in trouble for a while, but came back up to cover it. We'll be back with more of the first match. Well, a tough one for Walter Ray Williams. It seems like it's bolted down, Bo.
You're right, Chris, and here's a shot that many people argue about. Watch the action of the 1, 3, and see the 5-pin actually chop the straight back off the 8. Many people think it goes up over the top. As that replay showed, the 5-pin was taken straight back on the solid 8 hit.
All right, Walter Ray Williams leading in our first game by 11 pins and leading in Denver going into the long freestyle skating program tonight. Debbie Thomas, former world champion and national champion, and one of the high hopes for the United States Olympic skating team that will be in Calgary along with all of us starting February 13th.
Lentine studying his own game, trails by 11 pins. Here's Walter Ray Williams, 8th frame.
Coming up high and almost crossing over, leaving the 6-10. Walter, go ahead, Bo.
Chris, Walter has opted for that inside line, and the players all week long, as you see the ball just cutting right through the middle of the pins, have played an extreme outside line. You'll see that in the last 3 players coming up. But I think Walter struggled in practice. Gipp Lentine had been playing outside and also moved in, so they're both struggling a little bit. All
right, 9 pins now separating these 2 California professionals. They sort of look the part as you conjure up a picture in your mind of what Californians look like, the guys especially, right?
Well, Gipp,
little character in the face there. He's lived a good life.
That's for sure. Gipp, avid surfer, hardboard surfer, tells me now uses the 7-foot 8-inch board. Corky Carroll's one of his, who is the world champion surfer, one of his idols.
Again a 10-pin, but this time on the right lane for Gipp Lentine.
Very controlled that shot that time by Gipp Lentine. He's over somewhat of the anxiety of coming into a championship round. He made an excellent stroke with that ball, trusted the ball to right, just didn't get the real good break. Left the 10-pin, and once again we'll move to the left side of the lane, go between the 3rd and 4th arrows, knock this 10-pin in. He will trail Bowler of the Year Walter Ray Williams Jr. by just 10 pins with 2 frames remaining.
Well, how much can a top professional earn on the bowling tour? Well, in 1986, Walter Ray Williams, $145,550. Last year, $143,000. And here are the 87 money winners. Pete Weber, Ballard, McCordick, Holman, and Williams with 143 was not in the top spot. They can earn some dough now.
You're right, Chris. And incentives on the telecast. For instance, last week, Mike Jasnow made $18,000 for first place. As you look at the grip of Gip Lentine, a fingertip grip on the middle finger and a semi-fingertip grip on the ring finger. And going back to Jasnow made an additional $19,000 in bonuses last week, so $37,000. It doesn't all show on the prize list.
Oh, great foundation strike for Gip Lentine. That took off a little of the pressure. Let's see that reaction again.
The last two frames, just excellent shots by Gip Lentine. Look at him post that shot. Comes in light. Watch those eyes. He knows he's sawing it off. Very aggressive move for the non-titleist going against 1987 Player of the Year, a tough competitor, Walter Ray. Ninth frame.
All but the 10 on the right lane for Walter Ray, who won 3 of his 5 titles in 1986.
Watch the action of the 6-pin right over here, Chris, as it lays down in the channel. Just slides by the 10-pin. Doesn't have quite enough angle or power. Walter Ray Williams quickly up for the spare.
Right down to that final frame now here in our very first game. The winner to meet, Amleto Monacelli, a hot bowler, and Mark Williams, Firestone Tournament of Champions winner last year, and then the great Mark Roth.
As we go into the 10th frame, the possibilities for Walter Ray Jr. 3 strikes would be a 200 game. Strike spare would be 190, would force Lentine to strike to tie the match. We have a good possibility of a tie in our first match.
And a 10-pin on the left.
Once again, the same type of hit from the inside line or down the middle of the lane where Walter Ray Williams is playing. The ball comes through, doesn't bite through. You see it deflect and go over almost by the 10-pin, where when the ball is really cutting through the pins properly, as you'll see in the next match with a power player coming on, it'll end up behind the 8-pin.
Walter Ray, 3 times the world junior horseshoe pitching champion and 4 times the world adult champion.
Walter Ray Williams Jr. with a strike here in the 11th frame would finish with 189. And have to just watch Gip Lentine in the 10th.
All right, it's a 189 in the first frame. Now, Lentine. Pressure, pressure.
Before we went on the air, Gip Lentine told me, he says, all I want to do is win 1 game in the championship round on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Well, what stands in front of him right now are just 10 pins that he must knock down on this ball. He's collecting his thoughts. Lentine needs a strike on this ball and 9 spare to win. Anything less than a strike, he is defeated.
Using the full approach. Like the right heel is off of it. Pressing over. He'll take it. Gip Lentine, and look at that smile. It's been a long time coming, and of course, not so for Walter Ray.
Well, it sets up a situation, Chris, where the match is still in the balance. As you see, as my daddy always called it, unconscious competence. He got a great break, crossing over, tripping the 6 into the center of the lane. Now he must strike on this ball or 9 spare to win. If
There's 9.
he needs to make the spare to win. If he misses a spare, we have a tie match at 189. If Gip Lentine makes this spare, he goes on to the second match.
And Bo, is the last shot. The odds go up a little bit on this particular try at covering the 10.
No doubt, Chris, and Gip has had trouble with spares all day long or all week long. In fact, in between the the 8-game matches in the afternoon yesterday and the 8 games last night. He went over and practiced spares. So let's see if it pays off. Needs this spare to win the match.
There it is. All right, we have a winner in our first match by 1 pin. 190 to 189. And next up, Amleto Monacelli. In the city of no clocks, there's plenty of action on those one-armed bandits. Boy, they love them. So do the bowling fans. And what a game we had in the first. Kip Lentine, who's trying to win his first PBA title, wins by a pin over a very talented Walter Ray Williams. 190-189, and now in steps Amleto Monacelli from Venezuela. Should be a great match.
Chris, in the qualifying, Amleto finished third, and he decided, he's the only player of the 4 players to decide he wanted to finish the match. That means he'll start and then finish on lane 59 and finish on lane 60. And he must have an awful lot of confidence, because historically lane 60 has been the lane that gives everybody a lot of trouble. But he is bowling fantastic this year. Watch out for Amleto Monacelli.
Up a little high. Now he will try for the 3-6-10. This 26-year-older won the Japan Cup, his only victory.
Amleto going high on the first shot. 3-6-10 will go across lane, hopefully to drive the ball into the 3-6 and take out the 10. His father, Rodolfo, owns the only bowling center in Barquisimeto, a population of 600,000 people. Chris, you ought to build a center down there, partner.
Let's go. Well done. His son, Amleto, showing you how to make spares. So here's the man that showed you how in the very last shot, covering a 10-pin on the right lane, and that's where Kip Lentine will start now his second game. Walter Ray Williams, the loser, $6,000.
Kip, an excellent athlete, as Chris has said earlier, ran track in high school, was his district pole vault champion with a jump in high school a little over 13 feet, was a leaper, a forward in basketball.
Little high, leaving the 10. Kip had 5 strikes in that 190 to 189 win.
Kip goes a little bit high here. You can see the 4-10 split standing. The 2 comes off the sideboard, trips out the 4, leaving the 10 pin. And Kip has been pretty good on the 10 pin so far today, converting it every time he's had it. Once again, if he builds his confidence, he'll get going. Look at those eyes.
So the match is all even after 1 frame. The winner of this game will meet Mark Williams, the Firestone defending champion from Beaumont, Texas, and then the tournament leader, Mark Roth. Incidentally, finishing 6th in the Showboat Invitational was Marshall Holman.
Marshall Holman, we'll have an interview with him before the championship match to see his reaction on being named the Bowler of the Year, the PBA Player of the Year for 1987. Kip Lentine's second frame.
A 4-pin.
For Kip, what he has to do with that big hook ball is just pick up his speed a little bit. He's got just about the right line, but he's picks up his speed a little bit, and the ball's set right there. As you see, the 3rd pin on the left-hand part of your screen is that nice slow replay goes through. Just misses the 4-pin, leaves Kip once again an easy spare. But nobody's really attacking. Match play competition. Score is only relative to your opponents. Kip wins the first match by 1. It's all even in this match.
Oh, a lot of spare shooting here, and as we mentioned, Kip had 5 strikes in his victory over Walter Ray Williams. So now shooting in the second frame is Amleto Monacelli.
Going to see a lot of this young man this year, Chris. He looks better and better and better every year. Right now at 26 years old, as you see his 2 shoes, the red and the white one, and somewhat superstitious, but that left shoe has a big, hard sole on it to keep him from sliding too much.
Another high shot and another 316. 3-6-10. Let's get a profile read by Amleto.
The key with Amleto is to watch how he starts the ball low, straight arm swing, opens that hand up much like Mark Roth, and just shovels that ball off his wrist. Good low knee bend, so Amleto Monacelli has it all, but he has to put it together here as that uses that fingertip grip. Trying to convert the same spare he left in the first frame. 3-6-10.
Amleto's first win came in September at the Japan Cup. Prior to that, he had finished second, get this, 7 times, including last year, second in 4 finals, including, which was then the Toledo Trust PBA National Championship, also in Atlantic City.
And his downfall historically has been his lack of ability to make spares, and he made 2 difficult ones to start this match. Has one of the great strike balls in professional bowling, but it has to hit the pocket.
Here's a 10-pin that he'll have to shoot at.
This sellout crowd just seems to be sitting on the end of their seats, just waiting for something to happen. And none of the players can seem to get a string going. Monacelli gets the ball solid in the pocket as the people enjoying all the action here at one of the largest bowling centers in the world. 106 lanes, the Showboat.
And of course, later in the season, we go to the Atlantic City version of the Showboat. Brand new establishment. We were there last year, and this year it will be the scene of the United States Open,
with a $100,000 first prize. The Mountain Man, Gip Lentine. I always called him that. A good friend of mine. I had somebody say, telephone call from Big Bear Lake, California. I says, where in the heck's that? He says, up in the mountains outside L.A. The man who goes to his own drumbeat there, Chris.
He could be a double for actor Richard Boone. Take a look at that face.
Very true.
Well, another 10-pin.
The important thing is Lentine picked up his ball speed. Instead of playing that big soft hook, you could see the ball went straighter down the lane, more under control, and here you go, snaps that right around the 6, around the 10. Surely he'd like to have a strike, but having the ball under control, knowing where it's going, is the most important thing. Once again, Lentine with that fingertip grip spreads that index finger for control. Stability on that right hand will kill the shot or break his wrist back as he releases the ball. No wrist action on spares to control the hook.
Goes so close to that channel and then comes up to cover the 10. Next Saturday, right here on ABC Sports, the Professional Bowlers Tour returns to Torrance, California, and the $150,000 AC Delco Classic. Last year, remember, Pete McCordick bowled a perfect game at that site, the Gable House. We're live, except on the West Coast, at 3 Eastern and Pacific, as we look at Judy Moore, who is the manager of the Showboat Hotel and Casino.
Does a wonderful job. Saw her up there at the boxing matches that they have here at the Showboat many times. Now, Gip Lentine leads by 2, 4th frame.
And a high hit, and that picture, the 4, 6, 7.
Just struggling and not enough ball speed. All a Gip can do with this ball is just throw the ball over in the 4-7 zone, right in here. Hopefully he can bounce one of the pins out and take out the 6. Extra speed, hopefully bounce it out.
All right, and it's the first open frame of our second game. Lentine trailing by 12. Don't miss live coverage of the United States Figure Skating Championships. Prime time tonight, 8 Eastern. And Pacific, 7 Central.
Debbie Thomas, one of my favorites, the 1986 and 87 World's Ladies Champion.
And Brian Boitano, America's hope in the men's part of Calgary Games. Venezuela, Monacelli.
Amleto Monacelli not giving the ball enough room, as you see him come through the shot, and it keeps going high, leaving the 3, 6, 9, 10. We saw that converted last week on the championship round. One of the most difficult spares for professional bowlers and amateurs alike. You must get the ball over between the 3 and 6, avoid the chop of the 10, and still carry out the 9. Monacelli needs this to maintain the lead.
So it's an open frame, the first in this game for Monacelli, whom we asked earlier his version why foreign athletes are doing so well here in America.
Well, I would say that because they know that American sports is #1 here, so they know that the best players are here. They have to try a lot harder coming to another country, so they try a lot harder and they get equal, you know, they get better.
The man who speaks Italian, Spanish, and obviously English trails by 4 pins, is somewhat lost up in the left-hand lane, 5th frame.
Ball just not working the way it was, Bo, when he was warming up before we went on the air. It was so powerful, so controlled.
Very true, Chris. As you see it slide by, leaving the 2-pin, almost leaves the 2-10 split. And what has happened, low humidity in Las Vegas, the oil or conditioner on the lane is carrying down. Remember I said this is not a porous surface, but one thing does happen, the oil carries down. Players can't get the right break on the ball.
Well, like in our first game, which was won by a single pin, Gip Lentine 190 to Walter Ray Williams 189. We have another close match, 4 pins separating these two pros in our second game. The winner to meet Mark Williams, then Mark Roth.
Gip Lentine does a lot of practicing, Chris, and one of the things he's developed is he likes to practice a few frames every time he bowls, closing his eyes as he goes into his last step and trying to hit a target, say a mark or a dime out there on the lanes. And it's really a good loosening up method to keep your stroke down and not muscle the ball.
And leaving the 2, 5, and 8. It was interesting, Bo, to hear him say it also maybe helped his balance.
Very good. You know, when you have your eyes closed, many of us who are blessed with good sight don't realize how difficult it is to do a simple thing such as bowl without the good vision. And he says, yes, it does give him a much more awareness of what his body is doing when he closes his eyes. Good practice vehicle.
All right, he got him. Anxious moment or two at the line for Gip Lentine. And Bo, you mentioned sightless people. It's amazing the number of letters we get from those who do not have sight, but still tune in the Professional Bowlers Tour, and that's why we often repeat the graphics that people with normal eyesight can see.
Good point, Chris. As you see the averages for the 1987 season, much more than 400 games as players. You see that Walter Ray Williams, David Ozu up there, Roth, our tournament leader, Rowdy Morrow, and Tom Milton, who is a former winner of this tournament. Now, no strikes in this match. This is the first time I can ever remember that. Both players threw 5 frames, no strikes.
And still not one as we look at the 2, 8, 10.
All right, Chris, this is the 3rd time we've seen the washouter 1, 2, 8, 10. And the players to convert this need to get the head pin, which is a pin still standing up, and drive it over into the remaining 10 pin, which is knocked down to knock down the spare. The best try was by Walter Ray Williams Jr., and the head pin went around the 10 pin.
All right, and for Lentine, it's his second open frame. I always remember Frank Esposito telling me way back, Bo, if you bowl all strikes, you can still shoot 190. And that was the winning score in the first game.
You're right. Make those spares. Get 9 spare, 9 spare, and that is a very good point. Neither one of these players are going to make it to 190 the way they're going right now. Somebody has to take command. They have to build up their ball speed. Forget trying to crank it and finesse it. Whip it down there.
Well, here's another one. Take a look at that. 3, 6, 7, 10.
All right, the ball goes right through the middle of the pins, leaves the 3, 6, 7, and 10. What he needs to do is slide that 3 pin over into the 7 pin zone, hopefully not chop off the 6 and 10 pins. By the way, the lowest scoring match ever on Professional Bowler Score was a total of 296 for the 2 players, Dennis Jakes and Joe Staten, in 1983.
Come on. No chance for Monacelli. And that is his second open frame, so the open frames are even now. And the score is nearly that. Monacelli trailing by 5.
And as we project on the Professional Bowlers Tour, 20 pins per frame. If these players continue at 20 pins a frame, the final score would be 169 to 164.
That's about the winning score in Columbus, Ohio last year, I believe, as I remember.
That is true.
Ball just didn't come up.
Well, he tried to throw it harder to control it, and at least he has something he can make. Yeah. 1, 2, 4, a spare that amateurs see quite often. The pros don't very often miss the head pin, but when the lanes get very slick, and as we said, what happens with these real smooth lane surfaces, sometimes the oil or conditioner carries down the lane. What I mean by that is the ball is rolling down the lane, it is picked up on the ball and carried down towards the back end. You can get no hook action.
All right. Spare in the 7th frame, and the cheers from the crowd here in a close match. More later. 8th frame shot. Sliding by, leaving the 2, and while we were away, we're running way behind our time frame because of all the number of spares. Lentine left to 10, covered it in the 7th frame for a spare. Now he'll try to shoot this one to stay close, keep his lead of 4.
Match play competition. Actually, the players are starting to have a little fun, even though it doesn't show on their face. This will be 15 consecutive frames that neither player has thrown a strike. They're definitely setting some records out here right now.
But what a lesson in spare shooting that you're getting today by watching the telecast from Las Vegas. Amleto Monacelli will shoot next in the 8th frame with a spare working. Maybe we'll break the string right here.
Remember, $2,000 difference between winner and loser in this match, and still a pop at winning $33,000 first. So these players are taking it very seriously, yet there has to be a little bit of lightheartedness going through their mind right now. Monacelli trails by 4, 8th frame.
Strike number 1.
As Frank Esposito always said, when in trouble, throw the rocket to the pocket. And there he did. He just threw that ball between the 2nd and 3rd arrows and just sawed that 5-pin off. And maybe he has the solution to these lanes. I've never seen Amleto throw a shot like that, Chris.
Mark Roth, the tournament leader, whom you'll see 2 games from now, is watching. And speaking of rockets, he can throw them.
Let's see if he can make it count. He trails by 4 pins, 9th frame.
So we have the 1, 2, 4, 8 on the left lane. How do we shoot it, Bo?
Well, the ball just slides off his hand, Chris, and once again he leaves a fairly difficult spare, the 1, 2, 4, 8. You have to go across or down the center of the lane, drive the ball into the 1, 2 zone. The 2-pin will take out the 8, ball deflect over into the 4.
The spare on that shot by Monacelli as Lentine gets up, shooting the 9th frame, a spare working, leading by 4. He won the first game 190 to Walter Ray Williams 189.
When a player, whether it's a league player, professional bowler, is really lost like Gipp, he's bowled almost 2 games on his championship career, hasn't been close. You have to just look at the pocket and throw the ball, what we call rope it in there. He needs 2 strikes here to somewhat lock up this match because he knows his opponent can't do anything. Forget finessing at Gipp. Just go right at the 1-3 pocket.
Finessed it and left the 2-10.
And he'll have to convert that to stay ahead in this match. Trying to finesse that ball, there's just no chance. Ball slides by, leaves the 2-10. Needs to get the ball on the left side of the 2-pin and drive it over into the 10 to maintain his lead.
All right. Third open frame.
Skip Lentine going at a 1:54 pace. Monacelli a 1:64 pace. Earlier I said that the all-time record combined score for two players in a championship round was in 1983, 296. So one more open frame and these fellows would threaten the low game record book. But they're not worried about that right now. They're worrying about how am I going to get 2 strikes or even a spare to win this match. Lentine trails by 10 pins, 10th frame.
On 10.
Spare and a good count. He will at least force Monacelli to mark in the 10th, and as we've seen so far, a mark is no easy task today. Skip saying hope, anything. He's going to bowl a whole game without a strike, and he still could win the match.
All right, and if that should happen, proves the adage, never give up. Meanwhile, Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, who will meet the winner, keeps warming up off to our right.
Right now, Skip Lentine with a strike would be 154. Monacelli would be forced to mark in the 10th to go on to meet Mark Williams in the semifinals. The match is still up for grabs. All right, 153. He can still win the match.
But there is a great deal of excitement despite the high score, Bo. Fans here now, the murmur comes up and they talk to each other to explain to those that don't understand what could happen. So there is excitement.
Monacelli needs a mark to win. One of the most interesting matches I've seen in a long time. Match play competition. 2,000 at stake and a chance at 33,000 on this ball.
All but the 7.
For Amleto Monacelli, if he converts this spare, he would be in a over 153, and that's a score needed to win. He needs this spare and 1 pin to win the match. Unbelievable that a player would have 1 strike, possibly bowl in the 160s, and advance to the semifinal rounds. It's going to be an interesting day. I think this is really funny. Not funny, I would say, just interesting. They're struggling. Can he make it for a win?
All right. Now the task at hand, perhaps, well, without a doubt, the easiest task of this particular game. Needs 1 pin.
It's been a little bit bizarre so far. There's a win.
And he gets his 2nd strike, a 163 to 153. Time for our tip of the week, all about the importance of shoes. This tip of the week is brought to you by the makers of Old Spice, Speed Stick Deodorant, and Solid Antiperspirant.
If you've ever experienced problems of sticking at the line or slipping across the foul line, you know how frustrating it can be to have improper footwear. Many people make the mistake of not buying proper bowling shoes when they are buying bowling equipment. Now let's take a look at the bowling shoes. First, the house shoes or rental shoes. They're not too bad, except there's one major drawback. They're made for both lefties and righties, and they have slide soles on both shoes. This doesn't allow you to effectively get a good lift on the bowling ball. What I recommend is a pair of custom shoes. For you left-handers, just transpose what I'm about to say. First, let's take a look at the right shoe, or the traction shoe. This shoe gives you stability all the way to the foul line, especially on that second to last step, or that pivot step, where you have to push off the tip of this right sole to get the power on the bowling ball. Second, the sliding sole. As you notice, there's a smooth perforated sliding sole on this left foot. It gives you a smooth transition all the way to the foul line every time. So remember, if your problem's with the approach, invest in a good pair of bowling shoes.
Now let Bo help you score even more. You'll also fix problems, improve strategy, and practice smarter with Bo Burton's new bowling video.
This video is for you.
ABC Sports and Old Spice bring you Bo Burton's new instructional video, Score More. Just $24.98 plus $3 shipping. Call 1-800-4ABC-VCR. That's 1-800-4ABC-VCR.
I know two professional bowlers that feel you can have more luck out there. A few steps away, the casino here at the Showboat, because we have just had a game with only 2 strikes in it. The winner, Amleto Monacelli, with 2 strikes, shot a 163 to Gip Lentine's 153. Gip had won the first match, 190 to 189. There's the size of the field, Bo, gigantic.
Big field, 312. You can see the game average kind of low, 205, top 24, 208. That's not very much either. So here's some of the other top players: Holman, Kreitz, Wayne Webb, Thompson, Rick Steelsmith, 3rd time in a row. Berardi's always there. David Houston, former U.S. Open champion. Sam Macarone, the powerful Jimmy Keith. Westlake, the first 300 of the year. Ray Perez, Dickinson, Ernie Schlegel, the president's in there. Shortcut, Sam Zurich, Mats Carlson, Andre Neuer, Palmer Fogren, our statistician, John Gant, and you can bury that last one, Chris.
Who is that? In Burton Jr. Well, he made $1,300. We know we can get a touch now.
Well, it's been a good start after an 8-month playoff.
Proud of you.
Here we go, semifinal match. A lot of money at stake. $17,000 for second, a crack at $33,000 for first. Let's see what Monacelli can do. He struggled through with a 163 win.
It's a new ball game for Monacelli. He ripped it. What a beautiful finish on the ball into that pocket. As now we get a first look today, Mark Williams, who has 4 titles in his 8-year career, needs a win today for many reasons. He is 30 years old from Beaumont, Texas. Oh, yeah. Hooking into the pocket.
Here's a man with a powerful bowling ball, as you see it just charging right through the pins. The first player to come out and act like he knows what he's doing. Profile of Mark Baker. He is really a self-taught bowler. He struggled out here for years, and now he's starting to come into his own, can take the early lead with a double.
And the back-to-back winner last year, including the Firestone Tournament of Champions, had a little tough luck here in the second frame, first shot. 127.
Here's an interesting spare. The best percentage is to shoot it on the right side towards the pocket. Drive the 1 into the 2, the 2 into the 7. Now, many players will try to cross over, and if they don't get over there, they got a lot of trouble leaving the 7-pin. Let's see what he does.
Topping the 2 and 7 off the 1, and after a strike, an open frame for Mark Williams.
The big hook of Mark Williams, a little bit uncontrollable. Hooks right by the head pin, leaves him in arrears by 12 pins just after 2 frames. Now, Amleto Monacelli trying to equal his strike total of his first match.
After 2 frames, Amleto Monacelli make it 22.
Here's how Amleto Monacelli got through the tournament. The 56 games, the first, second, third, and fourth were qualifying rounds. He qualified 13th. Then the 5th, the match play round, he moved up to 6th, up to 3rd in the next 8-game match play. And in the final match play round, he moved up to 3rd.
Here at the Showboat, he was 6th in 1985, 61st in 86, 70th in 1984. 3rd place finisher this year, but moving ahead. Oh, it's a 10-pin on the left lane.
Amleto Monacelli going for 3 strikes in a row, solid 10. As you see the 6-pin fly right over the top of the 10. Monacelli quickly up with a much lower surface friction ball. He is using a polyurethane ball for his strike shots. This is a polyester bowling ball, a little bit more of what we call the plastic version for the spares. It doesn't hook as much.
Okay. Monacelli can rest, and 30-year-old Mark Williams, 6'1", 190 pounds, opening with a strike. then at an open frame in the second. Here shooting in the third on the right lane. Okay, we asked Mark earlier how important this tournament is to him.
Showboat Invitational this year is very important for me because as of last year, as of the year before, I had a very bad summer and then bowled fairly well in the fall to make some of the money back, but I've fallen off in the winter. This year I'm starting off rather well. My first tournament of the year, I've qualified second, and I'm looking to win to keep a good streak going.
He cut the lead down to 11 pins.
Gets them all but the 10.
Well, this is just like any other sport, Chris. If you don't play the proper shot, whether it be golf or tennis, you don't get the results. Mark Williams trying to play that big hook ball is just all over the lane. He's missing left, he's missing right, and he trails by 21 pins here after 4 frames.
All right. We're in our third game of the afternoon. More after this. Running behind our time schedule while we were away, this man, Amleto Monacelli, a strike in the 4th, the 5th, leaving the bucket here. And marking with a spare and continuing to hold a lead over his opponent, Mark Williams.
See what Williams does. Does he take a cue from Amleto Monacelli? Both these players are normally big, powerful hook ball players. Williams has watched Monacelli go to the hard, straight one. Let's see if Williams does it, too, to get back in this match.
Gary.
Stylist is left with a 7-10. Incidentally, 3 of those were made this week. Mark Roth, our tournament leader, Joe Berardi, and an amateur whose name we couldn't come up with.
And how they made it, Chris, is they take the ball, throw it very hard into the 10 pin, hopefully bounce it out into the 7. That's the way to make the 7-10 split. Ooh, you see it bounce around there. Sometimes you get a break and it comes out.
Well, you need better luck than that at the tables around here.
Well, back to the wall. Mark Williams, trailing by 34, has found that his big hook ball is just not working. Maybe he ought to pick up that spare ball that he normally uses. That'll go a lot straighter and throw it right towards the pocket like Monacelli's doing.
Gets by with a hook there. Strike in the 6th frame. Monacelli is now shooting in the 6th with a spare working. If you just joined us, he won over Gip Lentine 163 to 153. Lentine defeating Walter Ray Williams in her first game 190 to 189. Beautiful strike for the man who this fall at the Budweiser Classic in Columbus lost to Leroy Bornhop in the title match 169 to 160.
Still, who wins? It's not by how many. And Monacelli right now has found the proper way to play the lanes. He's going hard and straight between the 2nd and 3rd arrows, not giving up what we say the pocket. He never throws the ball wide enough to really miss the head pin. So he can take a commanding 44-pin lead if he can double here in the 7th.
Leaving a 4-pin.
Smart bowling, though, keeping it in play. Nobody can get a string. Everybody's proven that so far. Don't defeat yourself. It doesn't make any difference if you bowl 250 or 150. The big difference is whether you win or lose that game. Monacelli keeping the ball in play right now, figuring that 200 will win the match, and I believe it will.
And should that be the case, he would go on to meet the great Mark Roth. We'll be back. 8th frame shot and a strike by Mark Williams. As we're running way over our allotted time, while we were away in the 7th frame, Williams left a 1-3-6-9, covered it for his spare. He's going against Amleto Monacelli, the 26-year-old from Venezuela, who has a 34-pin lead, can increase it as he shoots in the 9th with a strike up. All right, leading by 44 pins.
Good lesson to be be learned right here from Amleto Monacelli as he keeps the ball in play, goes straight down and in, uses a lot of speed. Good match play strategy. And I would say 3 years ago he'd have blown it right here, Chris, but as he comes up here in the ninth, he can extend his lead to 44 pins.
Left lane. Leaving a 2-pin. Next week in Torrance, California, Gable House, the $150,000 AC Delco Classic to be followed as we move to Grand Prairie, Texas, the Quaker State Open.
Don Carter's Kendall Lanes in New Orleans and over to Venice, Florida for the Bowler's Journal Open as we see Mark Williams come up here in the 8th frame. He has a chance to get back in this match. Monacelli going at a 2:09 pace. Williams, if he could strike 4 more times, would finish with 2:05, but it's now or never. He must strike to stay in the match.
Winner to meet Mark Roth for the $33,000 first prize.
It's history, Chris. This match is over. Monacelli just has to stay in the building. Best Mark Williams can do is 185. Monacelli obviously has it locked up. He knows it, but trying to keep his control here.
And it'll be 9,000 for the Beaumont, Texas pro. Interesting, in the next game, the winner will get 33,000. The runner-up or loser will get 17,000. If you have any questions on bowling, send a card or letter to Ask Bo, Post Office Box 217, Ansonia Station, New York, New York, 001023.
All right, Mark Williams is out of the match, Chris. It's all over. The best he can have is 175. Monacelli already has the match locked up. As we come into the final match, we're going to see the great Mark Roth against Amleto Monacelli. Great match coming up.
That's next. Amleto Monacelli winning his match over Mark Williams by 44 pins, 218 to 174. So now he goes against 33-time champion Mark Roth. As we go to Bo Burton.
And with me, Marshall Holman. Marshall, the new bowler of the year. It has to be something you're proud of.
Thanks, Bill. It really is a great thrill, and, you know, 14 years on the tour, it finally came my way.
Was it kind of surprising to you that you won Bowler of the Year without winning a PBA title? Some people say it's a little controversial. What's your feeling about it?
Marshall Holman's always been controversial, and it was kind of a surprise, but, hey, I had a good year, I had a good record, and I'll stand by it.
Well, as you told me earlier, it's not Bowler of the Week, it's Bowler of the Year, and you felt, and I did too, that you out-averaged everybody for the year. You were consistent, only missed cashing in 3 tournaments. Congratulations. Continued success in 1988, partner.
Nelson, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, Chris, championship match. Another great one up there. Mark Roth, they're ready to go.
Mark Roth, 33 titles, Bowler of the Year 4 times, continuing to practice. And here in this, the Showboat Invitational, he led the last 3 rounds. He came from 47th in the first round to 3rd, then to 2nd, and then, of course, 1st. Amleto Monacelli, who is 10 years younger than Roth at 26. 7 strikes in the last. He had 6 of them on the right lane. He's on the left now. And gets another one on the left lane. All right.
Amleto Monacelli with that tremendous snap in the ball that Mark Roth, even though he's still the greatest, used to have. He's lost a little bit of that snap, Chris, but he still can beat us all out here. He's like a great baseball pitcher. When he lost a little bit of the power, he's learned to cut down the hook a little bit, keep it in play. The all-time leading money winner in the sport of bowling.
And crosses over. Mark Roth opening with a strike to keep the match even. Profile view.
The familiar profile of Mark Roth. How many steps do I take? Mark says, well, I don't care. I'll just start walking. That high backswing, good wrist action, and off to a real good start with a kind of a lucky break, though. Crossing over, has a strike. The match is all even. Championship match.
Now on the left lane. going for his third singles victory here at the Showboat. Has a doubles win as well. Left the 10 pin. The man who, when he won first here in '77, had to defeat Earl Anthony and Dick Weber.
Mark Roth, as you see his ball coming down, going into the pins, just doesn't get the amount of hook that he was getting all week long. No power at the back end, and not enough to knock out the 10. The man who doesn't miss any spares, Mark Roth. Best spare shooter on the tour.
Mark Roth, who won 6 titles in 1978. Monacelli with 1 title, winning in September at the Japan Cup.
Something you predicted last year, Chris. You said that they cannot stop him from winning. He just didn't want to do it in the United States. He said, I'm from Venezuela. Leave these Americans alone for a while. I'll win in Japan. Here he is to take the lead.
Thought he had a double, but left the 10.
Woo! The crack of the ball as the 6 goes flying right around the 10 pin. Watch this 6 pin. It'll just go right around the 10. Could have been an early lead, but once again, Monacelli, with this conversion, would have an even match with bowling's all-time greatest, Mark Roth.
All even after 2 frames, championship matches, they bowled for $51,000. 50,000 make it. 33,000 as the winner. 17,000 for second.
Monacelli, whose dad, Rodolfo, owns not only a bowling center, but a clothing factory making some of the finest formal wear in the world. Monacelli clothes.
3rd frame, left lane. A 2 pin.
Ball just slips off his hand. When a player turns the ball as much as Amleto Monacelli normally does, he's used to that ball staying on his thumb a little bit longer. When he straightens it out, or somewhat what we call fudges it, the ball comes off your thumb a little bit quicker, and he dropped that ball. Fortunately, playing the right shot, he got an easy spare.
So now up Mark Roth.
See what Roth does in the right-hand lane. He tried to go straight at the pocket like Monacelli. He was observing from the side, crossed over and got a good break in the 1st frame, but he knows that can't continue. He has to make some sort of adjustment.
Just wouldn't come up, and he too now will try to cover the 2 pin.
And that's what makes the lane so tough. You saw Roth go up towards the pocket, and he crosses over. Now he moves over about 2 boards, which normally would accommodate the extreme amount of hook he had in the 1st frame, and the ball slides by. Just no margin of error and no readability to the lane. I mean, what I mean by readability, a player has to be able to make adjustments that make sense in order to score.
Mark Roth, whom we earlier asked what is his next challenge.
I have 3 challenges right now. One of them would be to try and catch Earl in titles. It's a long way away, but you never know what could happen in 5-6 years. And the other 2 would be to win the Firestone Tournament Champions and the Brunswick World Open. I bowled well in those tournaments for years, and I'd like to win them both.
Wonderful young man living in Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey, with his wife Jackie and daughter Stephanie, who's quite a figure skater. They'll be watching primetime special tonight, the United States Figure Skating Championships, right here on ABC, 8 o'clock. All right, got some. Mark Roth, all this in Las Vegas. We're in our final game, the championship match. More after this.
Bowling's best return to the site of Pete McCordy's perfect game for the $150,000 AC Delco Classic next Saturday on ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour.
From Akron, home of the Firestone, the commissioner of the PBA, Joe Antonora. From Venezuela, Amleto Monacelli. All even match, 4th frame. He's just great on that right lane. His 8th strike on it, and now his 2nd game.
The key to the championship here is you see Monacelli just drive all 10 pins into the pit. Remember this, go straight on lane 60 as Monacelli's doing, and you can get away with hooking the ball on lane 59. Mark Williams had good success on 59. Mark Ross had good success on 59, hooking the ball. Monacelli has been close on 59, but very solid on lane 60. Now, to take the lead, he needs this double, all even after 4 frames.
Two-pin for Monacelli, and that double puts him off to a 10-pin lead. Watch the 2.
One of the great breaks in the sport of bowling. The head pin goes to sideboard, wraps all the way around, hits the 8 from behind. The 8 falls in the 2. Monacelli has taken the lead by 10, but Roth can even it up here with a strike in the 5th.
Never in doubt. What a player. This 36-year-old, originally from Brooklyn, 4-time bowler of the year. Look at that shot.
One of the greatest records that I think will be a long time before it's broken. Mark Roth averaged 221 in 1981 for a whole season. 221 per game, 36 some cities, thousands of games. Now he can take the lead. The match is even 5 frames.
And a 2-pin on the left lane for Mark. Look at this, the record of this 36-year-old.
First title to King Louis, where he shot a 299 game and garnering that title. Championship round appearances 97. Titles 33. Earl Anthony has 41. And there's some of the other accolades of Mark Roth, but he hasn't won the Firestone.
Now Amleto, Monacelli.
Key frame, the lane he can hit. He leads by 1, but he has that strike working. He needs to put a little nail in the coffin of Mark Roth if he's going to defeat him. Cannot let Roth get close to you in the 10th. He is the toughest.
He's just killing that right lane. 9th strike on it. Gee.
What a terrific lesson is being taught to all of us by Monacelli. His discipline on the tour, one of the really good trainers on the tour, but his experience. We've seen in the recent years the more conventional type player coming to the forefront in the Pro Bowlers Tour. Walter Ray Williams Jr., the player of the year 1986, throws a fairly straight ball. Now Monacelli shows you his diversity by throwing the big hook when he needs it and straightening it out to stay in the match here. He leads by 11, can extend his lead over Mark Roth to 21 with 1 more strike.
He won $112,000 last year. With disbelief, he watches the 10.
Bang! You saw Monacelli come up there in the 2nd frame and not leave a 10-pin as he just airmails all 9 pins straight back, 6 pins gone. But he has to take his time. Only a 10-pin lead if he converts this spare.
Now the live shot covering the 10. Monacelli leading Mark Roth by 10.
The hand of Mark Roth, many years of beating. That's all patch around the thumb. What that is gauze and cotton or collodion, very much like the type they use in a hospital. Mark Roth burying his thumb completely in the ball. That tremendous snapping action, very tough on his hand.
All but the 10.
Well, as far as the match goes, it's pretty much even. Roth has left 2 10-pins. Monacelli's left 2 10-pins. The off hits have been 2 pins, easy to convert spares, and yet Roth will trail by 11 pins after he makes this 10-pin.
Okay. One of the New York Rangers' biggest fans, Mark Roth.
Mark Roth just taking his time. Most matches that Roth has won, or not most, but many, are out of fear. He never really defeats himself, and I'm sure that Monacelli's thinking of that now. The pressure on Monacelli is not only to win the title, but to beat bowling's all-time leading money winner. 8th frame.
Just didn't come up, and then Mark has a 210 on the left lane.
Mark lets it sail by, and in order to convert this split, he needs to get the ball to the left side of the 2-pin and slide it over into the 10-pin. Gets a break knocking out the 8-pin. It's almost unmakeable with the 8-pin in there, but now he can take the 2-pin, slide it over into the 10, and stay close in the match. Not to be.
Nope. Now Monacelli up in the 8th frame with the spare working, leading by 24. Just joined us. He defeated Williams 218 to 174. Eliminated Lentine 163 to 153. Lentine winning the first match 190 to 189 over Walter Ray Williams. So 10 on the right lane.
Amleto Monacelli just bowling a terrifically cerebral match play so far today. He went with a big hook early in the match, snuck by Lentine, then took advantage of his experience, bowled a nice steady game against Mark Williams, and now with just 2 frames to go, with a spare here, he would have a 23-pin lead over Mark Roth. Monacelli coming up 9th frame, 23-pin lead over Roth. Could close him out with 2 marks.
Crowd couldn't believe the 10 on that shot.
If indeed Amleto Monacelli really develops this down and in style like this, Chris, combined with his power, he would probably be as dominant a player, have a chance to be as dominant a player as we have on the tour. You still got to beat the Holmans, you still got to beat the Walter Ray Williams Juniors, the Roths, but it would put Amleto Monacelli right up in their class.
Okay, and he's only 26 years old. But he is fit, jogs, grew up playing soccer and bowling, of course.
Statistician Palmer Falgren says Roth will start throwing strikes here. I think he's really got a tough task in front of him because the lane condition is just so tough.
That is a 4-pin. $13,000 difference.
Roth just a little bit high in his effort to set up the key 9th frame strike. Thinks it's going to settle there, Oop, little body English, not to be. Can make this spare and finish with a 204 game. He still has a chance to win.
Okay. It's good I don't keep the books here at the hotel because there's a $16,000 difference between winning and finishing second. I said 13.
Well, Chris, Mark Roth led at 56 games, has a tremendous record here. Must strike on this ball. Monacelli will be the 1988 Showboat Individual Champion if Roth does not strike on this ball.
Mark won here in 77, again in 81, second in 80, fourth in 79. And we're looking now at the 1, 2, 4, 7. And the 26-year-old from Venezuela.
Look at how wide he sends this ball. It just comes off his hands. You can see how slick the lanes are. This is life in the fast lane on the Pro Bowlers Tour. The best Mark Roth, Chris, can shoot is 190. Monacelli just stay around, collect his $33,000. And move on to Torrance, California for the AC Delco Classic next week.
Mark, who led the last 3 rounds of this event. And leaving a 4-pin after shooting a 189. Monacelli needs 2 pins for $33,000.
That's winner right there.
Gets all 10. Amleto Monacelli winning in Japan and now in Las Vegas. We'll be back. Judy Moore presenting a $13,000 check to the winner, Monacelli, 215, Mark Ross, 189. ABC Sports tonight, United States Figure Skating Championships, featuring the ladies and men's competition. Next Saturday, we'll be in Torrance, California for the finals of the $150,000 AC Delco Classic. Up next, ABC's World News Saturday. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports.
Nice job, guys.